Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Yeah, we've all been watching that shit too much.
Even Jake's been
'Kay.
watching it.
My 10-month-old will like stand up on the couch and just like dance to it.
Oh,
And
Mia's up there doing full choreography.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My
All about
boys will turn it on just so that she dances.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Welcome to the Ironcast podcast, where we have the pleasure of speaking with the great Mitch Shepherd here.
Thank you.
Mitch is one of the founders of Ironhide, is a journeyman electrician, a great friend, father, and provider,
I try my best.
which is what we're going to talk about today. So, Mitch, I wanted to start with a story. This is actually from 1968 in West Virginia, Farmington coal mine disaster. So picture this, 99 men went down into the mine that morning, just like they had done hundreds of times before. Hard hats, lunch pails, cigarettes. They were husbands, fathers, and sons. The work was dangerous, but it was steady pay, kept food on the table, heat in the house, and clothes on their kids' backs. Around 5:30 a.m., after already a few hours of work, a massive explosion ripped through the mine. People up top saw flames shoot 150 feet up into the air. Inside, men were trapped in total darkness, breathing in poisonous air, unsure if anyone would ever come for them. One of these men, Richard McCoy, was only 26 years old. He had 3 kids at home, another on the way, and in that black tunnel, surrounded by smoke. And based on interviews, he told other men something to the effect of, "If we panic, we all die. We have to stay calm. We have to hold on for our families." After hours passed, many men became silent after breathing in too much smoke, but Richard kept talking, praying, steadying the other men, reminding them of the faces waiting at home. Eventually they made it out, and Richard made it out, and he was burned, barely able to walk, but he was alive. Reporters asked him what kept him going. They wanted a big story, right? But he didn't talk about courage, bravery, or luck. He just said, "I wanted to see my kids again." Then after the funerals of 78 out of the 99 men, he made a decision to never go back into the mine. He'd rather be broken alive for his kids than rich and buried underground. And that's what being a provider meant for him. When you hear that very real story, Mitch walking into danger every day just to provide, what hits you the hardest?
A couple different things. My career, I've had a couple times where I've been locked up on wires, working hot when I shouldn't have been. And I had one, I was working on some lights and I climbed up a ladder, and then my hand, just reaching up above grid, my hand touched the support wires for the grid and a live wire. And it locked me up, left a nice little burn on my hand, but it locked me up for probably 2-3 seconds. Other stories I've heard, it's not too big of a deal, but it's for everyone else. And for me, it was terrifying.
Hearing that as a plumber, that's terrifying.
It's enough that I went and sat down for an hour and just tried to breathe, tried to get through it and figure out what I was doing. That event didn't make me think about, quitting or anything, but it did make me think twice about the safety and everything that we go through. And that's not just like electricians working with electricity, but it's safety on the jobs throughout any of our career. The next thing that it makes me think of is I had a lot of those same thoughts as I was going through cancer. I had, hey, I might come to a point where I'm not going to be able to do the work. Even just during recovery, what if recovery took a year? How am I supposed to provide? I know one thing, and I know one thing really well, and that's how to be an electrician. Computers baffle me. I don't know how to run computers. All this podcast stuff, I don't get a lot of it. I don't know. I'm not good with talking with people real well or eloquent with my words, but I'm pretty good with my hands, and I'm pretty good thinking in terms of electricity. And that scared the crap out of me. Would I have figured it out like this gentleman? Yeah, you have to. Right? He thought ahead in his family, and he'd gone through enough of an experience in his life to say, I'm going to make a change. I want to be there for my family. Yeah, they might make it the rest of their life, but I won't be there. That's a hard decision. I don't know what I would make in that moment. I do know that my experience is every time the thought comes in is I'll figure it out.
Because you have to.
You have to.
That's
you have to. Yeah.
It's not always that extreme, right? Where do we have to make a career change in order to move forward? In this case, back then, it's probably a smart move. There's still, today, one of the things I wanted to ask about was men are still walking into mine shafts, literally, and also just the stressful things we put ourselves through and the risks of providing.
Just
That's
driving to work every day.
just driving to work every day, but also the risks we put on ourselves mentally. You know,
Yeah.
the stresses that we keep piling on,
Mhm.
piling on.
A lot of the stresses that I hide from my wife
And how's that going?
doesn't work long term. They always come out. I've got a wife that's pretty good at pulling stuff out of me too. Especially right now, like in my life. This year's been a little harder than most. We had a big goof up on insurance. I didn't look at my plan close enough and I chose the wrong one. I've got a lot of medical visits that I do. For instance, last year, a PET scan, very similar to like a CT scan, it was costing me $1,000. Or sorry, it was costing me $100. This year, the PET scan that I had, because of the insurance that I have, was $900. That's just for one of the tests that I regularly take.
You regularly take. That's a
Yeah.
routine
It's
scan.
it's
for you.
becoming more infrequent as I progress in my cancer. Yeah, it was every 3 months or so, every 6 months. It gets pushed further and further, but yeah, it's a regular scan that I go and get. Like my copays went way up. The doctor that I go see right now, he's a specialist. It's $90 a visit just to walk through the door. There's a lot of things in a man's life that financially we just have to figure out. And
So-
that's what I tell my wife is we'll be okay. It's always the answer of we'll figure it out. We'll be all right. The kid's birthday comes around and oh, that's more money that I didn't want to spend. But it's all right. We'll figure it out. We'll be all right.
We'll figure it out because we have to.
I go
right?
I go do more side work and we figure it out.
Why do you think men tie so much of their identity into providing? In doing that, even lying to yourself sometimes
Yeah.
that we're good, we're fine, and you figure it out. Most of us do,
Right.
right?
I think that's part of what it inherently is to be a man is to take care of those around you. It's not always just your family that you're taking care of, but it's, hey, my neighbor's dad died. I'm gonna go take him. I find it that I want to go take him dinner. It's not my wife saying, let's go take him dinner. I find myself doing that regularly. I think it's ingrained in men. These are the choices that I've made in life and I have to pay for them. My choices were to get married and to have kids and I have to take care of them. My choice, it's been, I've chose to work and put on my shoulders to allow my wife to stay at home with our 3 kids and to raise them and to take care of them. Also because with 3 kids, daycare is more than I bring in. That's a good question though.
That's why I asked. I don't know because I feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
It's just something so ingrained in you. It's a responsibility that it's kind of a sick feeling, right? It hurts us. It's hard. Like me, you want to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I want to be the one to allow my wife to stay at home with the kids. I want to be able to provide for my kids to have the best of everything, to have the experiences that I had growing up, to have more experiences than I had growing up.
So did you have that when you were growing up? Did you have father that got to provide and then a mother stay at home?
I did. My dad's been an electrician for almost 50 years. I did see the struggles at times where my dad worked harder or he did some extra things to allow us to always have food on the table, to play the sports that we wanted, to have clothes on our backs, and then to go and do some big fun activities, right? For us, the big activity throughout the year was the big hunting trip where all of our family went and we went out hunting and we went out hiking and just had fun. Those can get really expensive. And I saw the stress that it put on my dad. And it didn't click until I became a dad that's what that was. That it was, I have fun with my boys, but when I come home and I kick up my feet and I tell them to come take my boots and socks off, because I'm too tired to lean over and pick up and take them off. My dad did the same with us. I'd pull it off and it'd be some stinky boots. And my boys whine and complain about it, but they have fun doing it. And I was the same way. But he would come home and, he'd sit back in the chair and just made it through the day. I made money. We'll be all right. If we got to cut, we cut. Figure out how to make it fun without spending a ton of money.
Yeah, that's another falls on the mother 100% as
Mhm.
well. But I feel for myself, and if you felt the same way, tell me. Just that's also if things aren't going in a good way, providing could also look like kids don't need to know
Right.
how much we're struggling.
Absolutely not. They need to know that their parents love them and that they will continue to have fun. Me and my wife right now are trying to find all sorts of different ways that are free or very inexpensive day activities. Where we live, there's a lot of like splash pads. So like throughout the summer, the city has splash pads and we can take the kids out to the splash pad. They don't know the difference between that and really going to Disneyland. To them, it's in the moment. It's awesome. Yeah, it's stuff like that. We like to do little trips that, like day trips that we'll go down to. We would like to, especially now that my boy doesn't have school on Fridays. But like we're planning little trips to go down to Yellowstone for a long weekend. Doesn't have to be expensive.
No.
I don't have to stay at a five-star hotel and get a crappy Airbnb for a weekend. And it's cheap, but it's fun thrills.
Well, that's the stuff they're going to remember anyway,
Mhm.
than a brand new something
Right.
you bought them, right?
Or the other one that we do is we'll go jump in the truck and throw binos in and just go look for deer in the mountains. It doesn't even cost me a tank of gas. We just go look in the mountains, and they don't care if they see deer or cows.
Just something.
They don't care.
It's awesome. Something you talked about before, talking about your dad growing up and things were tight, just worked harder, worked more. There's that attitude just, I think is still very present with a lot of us. It's going away quite a bit, but just that, if things are struggling, well, I'll just put my head down and work harder.
Right.
Do this. People are a little bit more outspoken these days, or there is a little bit more of a, why is this happening to me kind of feeling. Right. And honestly, I get it. I get feeling that way. To the dads that are doing it right now, where your dad was age-wise and coming up to where he's older, he's a little bit more comfortable spot. He's not having to deal with raising the kids. To the guys that are in those situations right now, I mean, us even at this table, right, where it's not as easy as just put your head down and do it. Where with Ironhide, we're trying to, yes, that's what we have to do, but we also, and I'm going to ask you a really hard question. How do we balance that? How do we balance that? Let's just work harder like our dads did. Let's just do that, but also take care of ourselves in a way so that we can do that in longer than what.
So that if we need to push for it longer, how do we do that? I think it's finding a lot of small moments. A big one every single day is when I come home and my boys yell, "Daddy." That's a big one. If I have to push 12, 11 hours a day, coming home and them being happy to see me every time is really important to me. But then it's on the off hours is making the most of them. One of the things I've been trying right now is not scrolling Instagram and Facebook so often and just doom scrolling and trying to disappear out of my own world, where instead I should be in their world. And with my boys right now, a lot of that it just looks like playing Pokemon with them. They're big into the games on Switch and then just hanging out. The other one that we do is, and it's a reprieve for my wife as well, because she can have the whole bed to herself. We do a lot of front room camping. And so we just make sure the front room is clean and throw up the air mattress and throw on a nice movie. My boys are really into Harry Potter as well. They get to fall asleep eating popcorn and ice cream and cost me nothing. I get to be there with them. The other thing I do is lean into my hobbies a little more. I may not have as much time, but if I can take my mind off of work into something that I thoroughly enjoy, because I do enjoy work as well, can take my mind off that, push pretty hard into my hobbies when I'm extremely stressed, which is also difficult because hobbies cost money.
Especially grown-up hobbies.
Grown-up hobbies cost a lot of money.
So this is good because you're talking about figuring out how to provide. And when you're worried about providing, you are also providing for yourself.
Right.
Not just for your family.
Yeah.
And providing for yourself. I'm hearing that means spending the time with the family, making time for your hobbies.
So 2 weekends ago, my wife, she also needs a break. Wives and moms never turn off. She went off with some of her girlfriends and took a long weekend retreat. I had the kids all weekend and we goofed off. And she came back just glowing a little more. And then this last weekend, I did the same thing, but just an overnighter. I went camping with a buddy and went scouting out for elk and looking. And that to me was great. I was able to just throw on an audiobook and hike through the mountains. Another way to just turn off and kind of ignore my problems for a minute while I can think and get some deep thought, get out of cell service.
Doing that, like spending the weekend prior, spending a lot of time with your kids, allow you, I know, because for me, sometimes it's hard to allow yourself the time to go take care of yourself when you have a family. Having that long weekend with them and spending all that time with your family, does that help you give yourself mental permission to go do those things for yourself? Or do you struggle with that?
Yeah, I feel I do. Even like coming and filming a podcast, I feel guilty leaving my wife with the kids more than need be when I'm just at work. But yeah, when it can be more of a trade-off, I feel a lot less guilty, less pressure.
So Mitch, when we've brought up that first story,
a
really life or death story, it's an extreme example,
Sure.
but you have your own.
2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. It's called adenoid cystic carcinoma. It's a cancer of your adenoids, like your saliva glands. It's in the neck, where most of your saliva glands are. But mine, I forget the word, but it's like mine showed in the lung. That's the only place it happened. So it was in my right lung. Through all the diagnosis and all the discussions with oncologists and other doctors, we decided it was bad enough that we were going to go do what's called a pneumonectomy, which is the removal of an entire lung. I learned about the mass in December. I think it was March is when I had surgery. So I went from nothing, my life's okay, to I get to live life, 50% of my lungs. What is that, 3 months? 3? Yeah, 3 months. That was a lot of emotions in a very short amount of time.
So going back to how did you happen upon the diagnosis? Was there something going on at work? What brought in
Yeah,
going
I
to the
mean,
doctor?
hindsight's always 2020. I should have known a lot earlier, but I feel like this is also another thing that a lot of guys do is I'm okay. No, it's fine. There was a couple days that led up to a big day. I had a couple days where I'd throw up in the morning and there'd just be blood, and I would cough and cough and cough, and it would cause me to throw up. Yet I'd have blood come out. And then I had a day at work where I was upstairs on a third story, just roping some townhomes, and I could not stop coughing. And it was just blood after blood after blood, just a lot. That's kind of what it took for me to be like, this is not okay. I'm going to go get checked out. And my wife, the angel that she is I came home and I was like, hey, I've been throwing up a lot of blood. She goes, well, that's not good. I said, yeah, I'm going to call my doctor, set up an appointment. And she goes, no, you're going to go to urgent care. I was like, no, I'll be all right. I'm okay right now. She goes, no, your doctor's actually on call at the urgent care, so you can go see him right now. All right, fine. So he took an x-ray and he saw a spot. He called for a CT scan and he said, yeah, there's a mass. And so that was maybe a week or two later. There's a mass in your lungs. We're going to go from a CT scan to a PET scan, which is where they inject you with irradiated sugar. Cancerous cells eat an absorbent amount of sugar. And so they inject you. You have to sit there still for an hour. Whatever cancer cells are in your body light up like a Christmas tree on the scan. And mine was it was a rich person Christmas. A lot of lights.
So when you have 2 kids at the time.
Oh yeah, I had 2 kids at the time.
When they tell you you have a mass, what goes through your head?
That was really interesting. So I had gone to the doctor. They took the x-rays and he said, I'll get with you in a couple of days when I can get these and we'll discuss it. And then I remember it really distinctly. It was middle of December. I had taken all my guys out to lunch. There was probably 6 or 7 of us. It was one of my workers' birthday. So I was like, you know what? We haven't done lunch in a while. So let's all go to lunch. Company treat. Let's all go. We were eating. My doctor called me. So I took the call off in the corner, and over the phone, he said, hey, you have a mass. We don't know exactly, but we're going to look into it. But there's a spot on your lungs. And then he's kind of left it at that. He said, I want you to come in soon. We'll talk some more. And so I sat down with all the rest of my guys and I was like, hey, I got a spot on my lungs. And it was like, we were joking. We were joking and having a good time and laughing real hard. It wasn't until I got in my own pickup and drove back to the job site that all the thoughts came. I broke down. I called my wife and I said, hey, I got the results of my x-ray. Like I almost couldn't speak. When I cry, I ugly cry every time. And I said, hey, I'm going to wrap up with my guys and I'm going to come home. And then I called my dad. When I called my dad and told my dad what had gone down, I broke down even harder than I did with my wife. I think just all the emotions came flooding in. I think I even had to pull over, and it was like less than a mile. The restaurant was only like less than a mile from the job site. I told my dad what was going on. I remember his words were like the classic dad words of, we'll figure it out. Be all right. Doesn't matter if you're going to be all right or not. That's what you tell your kids. We'll be all right. We'll figure it out. We'll do whatever we got to do. Yeah. And then I got back to the job site. All of my crew saw that I was not okay. And they said, go home. They said, don't worry. We don't need you here for today. So I called my project manager and said, I'm going home. The next couple of days were pretty rough for me and my wife.
Fortunately, I haven't been in that situation myself.
Right.
Is it racing back and forth, thinking about all the different things? Has it hit you at once, or is it just complete shock? I'm sure it is initially.
Initially, it's a lot of, is this real? Like I hear this about other people, but am I really doing this? My mind always goes worst case scenario. Okay, so if I'm going to die, what happens? My thought was always, it doesn't matter if I die, personally, to me, but it matters to my kids, to my wife, what's going to happen to them if I go. Like a lot of guys, and in talking with several people after, especially that have had similar experiences, a lot of us think that it's like you put your finger in a bucket of water and you pull it out, it goes back to calm. That's what our lives mean in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't, by the way, to anybody. Also, in talking with lots of people, you matter whether you think you do or don't. But those were my initial thoughts of, all right, I got to figure it out. I got to fight because my kids need bread. My kids need a dad. They need a friend. They need me.
They need you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're awesome.
Thank you.
Not just their dad, not just as important as that role is to their life. You are not just their dad, you are their dad, Mitch. And I was around for a little bit of that, and I got to see some of this. And
Yeah, you guys were a big help.
you spoke a lot about just the work. Fortunately, you worked for a company that helped you out quite a bit.
My company was very understanding.
But just as this relates to your core and being able to provide you, what did that, once that came into your mind, what was the fight like after that?
I was never not going to fight. I definitely fought a lot harder after thinking about a lot more than myself. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it also, like a lot of it was, it's a blur. I feel like December to March was about a week. It's hard recalling a lot of what happened. I missed your question maybe, but.
No, you answered it. You said something that I wanted to ask about that I don't want to forget again. So
Yeah,
you said, just like your dad said, like a dad does, like you tell your kids, you're going to be good. You're going to be okay.
Mhm.
You have kids now.
Yeah.
You had kids then, but being a parent, I want to know what you think or how you appreciate maybe what went on in his mind and how he must have felt when his kid told him.
yeah, I've thought about that. Like what happens if my oldest boy comes to me when he's 30 and says, Dad, I'm dying? I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I'd like to think I'd do exactly what my dad did. Don't worry. Especially because I think in what my dad was saying was more than you'll be okay. It was no matter the outcome, things will be okay. Like I say, I died on the operating table. I know that my parents has my family. I know that all of my family and my friends have my family. Because that was probably the biggest thought that was going into surgery and just dealing with the cancer was what happens to my family if I go. I was given, the location of my cancer was really tricky. So your esophagus comes down, and then where it Ys is called the mediastinum, and it Ys off into two tubes that go off into your left and right lung. My cancer was right at that Y, almost encroaching up. And so I had two surgeons say, no, I'm not going to touch it. Then I had one surgeon who said, this is easy. Don't worry. I got this. And I could not be more grateful to that man. In with the first doctor saying that he can't do it, we had a discussion with my oncologist. Okay, if this can't happen, he gave me 7 to 10 years. I was very lucky that this cancer is very, very slow growing. They estimated that I had it for about 6 years before, and it was about the size of a tennis ball, the tumor. And yeah, so I had 7 to 10 really crappy years being with my family if nothing worked. ACC is resistant to chemo, so chemo doesn't work on it, and radiation does next to nothing. Like it has some effect, but it's not much. And there's no research on my cancer. I think it was like less than 1% of 1% or something like that of people get it. And then those that do get it, it's in their neck. Those that get it are like 60 to 80 years old, not 30, which I think also that was a big benefit on my side. I had some youth to help me push back. My first doctor, he said, if you were 60 to 70, I'd say that we're not going to operate. No one's going to operate. You lived a good life. I was like, man,
Wow.
you are rude. They were very rude. And my wife was pissed. She did not like that, man. Said then I had another doctor, because at this point we were looking around at a lot of specialists. We found a guy in Denver, found a hospital that does a lot of this in New York to go out and have it taken care of. I was very lucky that I found a guy here in Utah, only about 45 minutes from my house, that he said, don't worry, I did one of these 2 weeks ago. And I've done like, I think 4 in his total career. I believe in surgery, like 4 is a lot of, like for that type of surgery, 4 is a lot, right? Like you have, a lot of people don't do 1, but he'd done many successful. He was the perfect doctor of confident and cocky, minor God complex, which I really appreciated because he said, don't worry, we got this. He basically started like drawing on walls, being like, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try and cut right here. All right, you guys good for 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now or whatever it was. We're going to kick this in and kick this in gear and get it going. It was like March 15th or something. And we got to the hospital and I was on the table for 5.5 hours. Here I am. I made it.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Thank you. It was a little longer than he was expecting. I think he estimated 4 hours on the table. So because one of the things I wanted to see it, right? I'm that weird kind of guy. I wanted like pictures and I wanted to see the tumor. And he said he always takes pictures, but he was so worried about closing me up that he just sent it off to pathology. And even he didn't get a look at it again. Yeah, I did 8 days in the hospital, 4 in the ICU, 4 outside of the ICU. Really, it was only 2 months recovery at home and I was back to work.
I wanted to ask you about,
Yeah.
I was around you during that time. I noticed leading up to that time, to the surgery, and then after the surgery, to me, it almost seemed like it was darker after the surgery.
It was bad. In the hospital was the darkest moments I've ever had. I feel like I'm a pretty happy dude, just like a happy-go-lucky guy. One of the things that stuck with me was my wife said that she didn't see me smile once in the hospital. I didn't eat at all in the hospital. I think I lost 40 pounds throughout the 8 days in the hospital of just not eating, not moving, not wanting to do anything. And then after, I was pretty restricted on what I could do and couldn't do. And it didn't sit well with me on not just living my normal life.
Yeah, 'cause you're a pretty active guy.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even come home from the hospital, right?
Yeah. So 8 days in the hospital. And then I spent a week and a half at a friend's house because both my boys had colds. And my surgeon said that if I got a cold or a flu in the first, like, either 6 weeks or 3 months, that's it. I'm dead. Like, no questions asked. You're going to die. And so my boys had just started sniffling and coughing. And so I had to go stay at a friend who had like an Airbnb down in a basement. It was some rough times.
Part of that dark time you're talking about, I know, and then something I started overhearing conversations just financially of what cancer did, and I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I was extremely blessed to have a company that kept me employed and found stuff for me to do. As an electrician, I can't work from home. It's hard to pull wire and bend conduit from home. What they did for me is they were able to advance some PTO and some pay time off. So I took 2 weeks for hospital stay and a little bit at home. They found paperwork, just office administration stuff for me to do at home for another like 2 to 3 months. And I was helping develop safety programs, and I was helping doing a lot of closeouts on jobs and stuff like that, redlining plans. They kept me fairly busy. After I was able to get off oxygen and breathe on my own normally, they had me just driving around as a parts boy. For a company, a journeyman parts boy is really expensive. They did a really good job in taking care of me. It got expensive. I was also blessed. Like, I had a lot of blessings coming in right all at once. I may have used up all of them for the rest of my life, but at that time I had a very good insurance. My max out of pocket was like $2,400.
Wow.
And so I had mostly hit it by the time surgery came around. But when I got the itemized list for surgery, In my 8-day stay, it was $500,000. That was wild to see. Surgery was really expensive, but what adds up the most, I think, is all the doctor's visits next to it. $500,000 is lump sum all at once that you see. What you don't see is the 100 doctor's appointments that I've been to before, different specialists that I went to go see, all the medication. And at the beginning, it was all, oh, you have asthma, so I'll paying for all the inhalers and all of this other stuff. It got really expensive. Like a lot of men, I don't like asking for help. I did come to a point that I did have to call my dad and say, hey, can I get some help? The other super beneficial thing was your mom. I felt really embarrassed, but she started a GoFundMe, and that raised, I think it was $11,000. That was a really big help. I didn't know she did that until there was a couple $1,000s into the account. Another big one was my brother. We had just found out it was Christmas. So it was like 2 weeks after I'd found out that I had a mass, and my brother walked over and handed me almost $4,000 cash and just said, whatever you need it for, and then walked away. That was it. My brother's not a big social guy, doesn't speak a lot of words. And so he said, whatever you need it for. And then he walked away, and that was huge. And huge in more than just the financial way. It meant a lot.
Well, when you're a good guy, people like to help you out.
Yeah.
So don't forget that, kids.
Yeah, it costs nothing to be nice. The one that's killing me right now is I messed up this last November and my company offers an insurance broker to choose the different insurances. He had some plans out in front of me. I don't know if at the time I was too busy or what happened, but I chose the wrong plan, and it is very expensive. The PET scans that I have regular, like last year was $100. This year I paid $900. The copay that I go to see my pulmonologist is $90, and I see him several times a year. All my medication jumped up a ton. So like I just got a new inhaler. It was like $45, where I think I was paying like $10 last year. And so that one hurt. That one hurt me a lot. There's some things that I need, like I need to do a sleep study to get my sleep apnea, but my current insurance doesn't cover sleep studies. So I got to wait until next year, because those are really expensive, and I'm not going to pay. I think they're like $2,000 to $3,000. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you need to do to take care of yourself that either you put off or you have to bite the bullet.
I mean, I know you say, you chose the wrong one, right?
Right.
But I mean, people know your history, and they know what you have to do. And I don't think it's unfair to bring up that flawed system that we're forced to be into. And so I don't know why not willing to, hey, maybe check this box, or maybe do this, or maybe do this.
I mean,
let's just let you
go.
Let's just let you fail.
Here in like 2 months, it's definitely going to get checked.
I mean, I'm sorry. I tried just on top of doing the work to be able to pay for these things. Mm-hmm. You also have to be an expert in everybody's field,
right?
To know how to take care of
yourself.
I don't
know how insurance works.
That's the point.
Took me forever to figure out what a deductible was. Like I said, I'm good at one thing, and it's not reading. It's definitely caused some strain on our family, and just trying to figure stuff out. Lots of credit card debt. So, but we'll figure it out.
That old, we'll figure it out.
There's nothing else to do.
Because we have to, right?
Yeah.
Well, now you have a third beautiful daughter.
I do.
There's just more.
Oh, it just keeps adding. That's more doctor's appointments for them, right? When you have a baby, they're really expensive. The hospital bills when they're born, yes, like right now she's still on a payment plan to pay off her hospital bill. They have a 2-week appointment, 1 month appointment, 2 month appointment, 3 month, 6 month, 9 month. Like the appointments never stop. And 99% of the time, those appointments are in and out in 10 minutes. All right, she's good. She's in the 80th percentile. I don't care. My baby's currently in like the 23rd for like weight. She's healthy.
Yeah, but that peace of mind's nice. But yeah,
adding more kids adds a lot more expenses. Right, I got one currently in pull-ups at night, and one in diapers, and they currently eating me out of house and home, just in string cheese alone.
I know you want to progress. I know that's a conversation with you and your wife, is you want to be able to do more and do more and more. And I want to know, as coming from Mitch, already balancing what you're balancing right now, What does that look like? How does that, how does that feel going forward? How does that feel trying, there's the thought of growing and,
Well, I know we just had the conversation, me and my wife, of putting some things off until I become a master electrician, where the pay goes up and offers a lot more opportunities. Like she's been pushing for a bigger home, right? We added a third kid, and our little 1,200 square foot house is feeling real small, especially now that she's moving and crawling and getting around. Yeah, it feels small. And so we discussed, okay, we got to wait. I've got less than a year where I can go test out. A lot is depending on that right now. Yeah, luckily I am in a field that offers advancement forever. There's nothing that the trades aren't, there's no cap on what you can do in most trades. Recently I've been pushing myself just physically to get back to a spot where I don't feel hindered when I go hiking with my boys, or my boys, they really want to go duck hunting. And that's something that I'm trying to get back into shape for and push myself. It's harder now, not impossible.
so you just went, right? You just went out this weekend.
Yeah, I just
do
went
that.
scouting for, I have an elk hunt coming up.
So you got to be out in nature and
Yeah.
have some of those moments. Wondering if you can take me there with you, because I didn't get an invite. Just going out there, being on foot, and being
It's hard.
post surgery, right?
It's hard.
And do you get those when you're out there? When you get those little
Oh yeah,
annoyances with yourself versus what you could do versus what you can do?
I have a feeling I'm gonna have to take a really long shot on an elk because they're gonna hear me coming.
Yeah, just tell us about this weekend.
Yeah, so I went out with a buddy. He's a good friend of mine. His wife's a really good friend of my wife. He was there kind of throughout the whole cancer journey as well, one of our neighbors. And I let him know early on. I was like, if I'm going to come with you, you're going to have to walk slower. He goes, that's okay, I walk slow anyway. If there was the slightest incline, I'd go 100 yards and I'd have to stop for 5 minutes, catch my breath because I'm huffing and puffing and I'm sweating my butt off right out of the gate. It's a weird one because if I'm flat, there was a lot of flats that I hike for half mile, no problem. Once I start out here in the mountains of Utah, it's a lot harder too because there's some steep mountains. And so we climbed up to a couple of these ridges and it took me a lot longer than it should have or would have. It was harder, but what I found is it wasn't impossible. I've been pushing myself the last couple of weeks. I'm building a hotel right now that has 4 stories. So I've been pushing myself to get to that 4th story 2 or 3 times a day just to walk the stairs. If you have a little bit of drive, you'll get there. That's something I've always struggled with. But right now, like, I bought the elk tag just to push myself. Right? I'm not here to, it'd be nice to bring some meat home for my family. I bought it so that I can push myself physically, so that I can do more things with my kids. My boys love baseball. I'd like to be able to have some energy when I get home from the end of the day, go play some baseball. I'm never going to run any marathons, but I wasn't before either. So,
well, not yet.
Yeah. Make a great TikTok if I did though. Yeah. We were talking earlier before the podcast. One of the experiences that I had early on in my career was my wife had just gotten pregnant. Well, not just, she was getting ready to have the baby. And so she quit her job. And so all of the stress was on me to make the money. I had a really embarrassing moment. Maybe embarrassing is not quite the right word. Awkward moment that I hate talking money, but I had to go to my boss and I had to ask for a raise. I just had to say, hey, I just need a few more dollars. I feel like I've been putting in the work. The trades offer really good advancement. It's never like, okay, here's a 2% raise. Here's a 3% raise. It's like, here's a 20% raise because you're this far in school. Here's this. Well, I was in between those moments and I just went to my boss and I said, hey, I'm underwater. I need to make a few dollars more. What can we do? So he's like, all right, come in. Let's sit down and have a meeting. And I hated that. I hate asking for help. And I hate going to my boss and saying, hey, I'm not making enough. Because all in all, I feel like I'm compensated fairly well for what I do. But he was great to work with and said, yeah, here's X amount. I think he gave me a 20% raise. And his words, I think, were, with this, we just expect you to work harder. You already work hard, but you need to work harder. That was not a fun moment for me. It needed to be done. I feel like a lot of people get that way of, well, I can't ask for a raise. Yeah, you can. Just because you ask for a raise, the worst they're going to say is no. Unless you have a really, really jerk boss and they fire you. But that's a bad boss to work for anyway. But
Well, you're a humble guy, because a lot of guys aren't afraid to ask. And a lot of guys aren't afraid to ask undeservingly as well. I know for you, it's a big deal. I'm very similar in that way. Did that help feel like you were going to be able to, this is going to work? My wife stopped working.
Yeah.
I can make this happen now.
Yeah, it was enough to just make it work. I mean, obviously it wasn't bringing in my wife's income that compensated, but it was enough we can eat this week. It just set us on a better path. And I think that at that moment, it showed my boss that I'm not afraid to ask for what I needed, not what I think I deserve, but what I needed.
Well, Mitch, I want to close this podcast and just, thank you for sharing these things. I know you've told me too, you feel like you've had so much help. You've had so many, and I made the comment, well, it's easy to help out a good guy. It's important, and it's a blessing that you had friends and you had family and a dad that was able to help you in those ways. And
Right.
now you're going to be the same for your kids.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of guys listening, a lot of people grow up and not have that.
Sure.
Right? They don't have a support group that they can lean on. They don't have a family that has their back.
Right.
And it feels really unfair sometimes. Sometimes it feels like, oh, this is what I deserve. You're an example of that's how it should be. Right.
Sure.
And so if we don't get that ourselves, we can provide that to others.
Right.
I know for me,
and you can build around you.
Yeah.
All right. You can build a community around yourself that just benefits all. I was able to have a great family growing up. You're not family, but you're someone I built into my life. Like you didn't give me money, but you watched my kids a few times. That allowed me some breathing room to go to doctor's appointments with my wife. Having a community around you doesn't mean always asking for a handout for, hey, I need $500. No, having a community around you means seeing those that are struggling and saying, hey, I bought you a frozen pizza.
Yeah.
It cost me $4. You can eat today.
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't have to worry about dinner. It's the little things. It's a text of, hey, how you doing today? You want to go for a walk? Go shoot clays? Like, it's little things. It doesn't mean someone to give you everything you ever needed.
No.
Or it's everything that you want, but it's something to build you up.
And allowing it.
Yeah.
You talked about, I hate asking for help. I don't want to ask anybody for help. I don't want to do this and this, but all those things, all those blessings
Right.
you were able to have by your community, it's because you let us help you. No matter how hard that might have been for you, letting people help and not being too proud or too, I got this, I don't need anyone's help.
Right.
Letting people serve you, letting people grow themselves by being able to help somebody else is so important. And that's something, whether we feel like we deserve it or not.
Right.
I'm glad you were able to let people help you.
I've also been blessed that my wife has a great girls group. She leans on them a lot to help us. So
Well, good. We can learn a couple things. But thank you, Mitch. Thank you for listening to the Ironcast podcast. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe button.
And it goes on the side of the finger. Then my wife must have mentioned it in TV.